when I think about the work the social workers do in the field, and people that help people that come out of jail and try to come in back into society, like that kind of work. I feel like, man, your show just did like 10 years, 20 years of work in the past, and all in one space of 2 years.
Yeah,
just in your show, man. You know.
I know.
And when I think about, when I talk about New Zealand media and these journalists trying to get the stories in there, like a part of it is because they're not brown faces, and they're not people that have that experience like you have. And when I spoke about podcasts having a platform that anyone can just jump in and do, like allow someone like you with the same experience of these guys have gone through to come and, they're comfortable telling their stories because you've been through it, you know, and that's half the battle. Of getting these stories out there, you know?
Yeah, I know.
And
it is.
With the Havelock thing, like we talked about that story on our podcast, Empty Out the Clip, but the reference for me was wasn't in the news. There was I think it was in Stuff NZ, that story. But then they got that story from your podcast, right? Was that the... Yeah. That wouldn't be a story if it wasn't for...
No, that's what I... See, like, that's what I mean. When we did that interview, it completely changed the whole shift of how that case was being handled. Which, if she hadn't have done that interview, that wouldn't have happened. Like, that's what I mean, that I'm in such a privileged position, you know what I mean? Where, like, people like her can, like, message me and say, hey, look, this stuff has happened in my sister's case, just things aren't adding up. And I can just be like, well, yeah, just share your story, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm just so grateful to be able to help people like that, because some of these people, I look at them and it's like, man, if it wasn't for my platform, their story wouldn't have even, no one would even know.
Exactly.
But that's scary in a way, you know what I mean? Because then it's like, man, more people need to be doing this, you know what I mean? Like, in the sense of really trying to get these stories out there, because, yeah, like I said, like, so many of these stories, if it wasn't for the show, like, bro, it'll still all be in the darkness, man. No one would even know.
And I reckon it talks to the mistrust of New Zealand media, or the media itself.
Look, because the thing was with the media and that as well, though, is that you got a lot of good journalists, but the thing was, through my work as well, like I've met so many people now, you know what I mean? Like, bro, I get MPs that reach out and stuff, you know what I mean? Man, I had like Kitty Allen, the MP for the Justice and all of that. She reached out to me, like, to have a meeting about like how things are running, all of that, like, so like, and then even in the media, I speak to quite a few people in the media nowadays as well. But the thing with them is because they work for whatever, because basically all media is run by one company, really. When you look into it, anyway, they're all owned by the same people, anyway. But let's say they work for these different media things, and then like, it's just they don't. They can come with a story, but if the editor says no, it's a no, you know what I mean? Whereas I don't have that restriction. Well, we don't have that restriction where no one can tell us, oh, you can't talk about that, you know what I mean? Like, with that Araki, bro, like, with that sister, with the Havelock North thing, bro, no media company would have gone near that, you know what I mean? No, they wouldn't have gone anywhere near something like that. But when I heard that story, I was like, bro, we as a country deserve to know about, those particular details, you know what I mean? Because it's an outrage, you know, and yeah, it's just scary when you think about what's the sort of stuff that they are actually hiding from us, you know what I mean? When you really start thinking about it. I mean, I've got some episodes coming up, man, that with a few journalists and things like that, who have worked on some pretty well-known cases here in New Zealand, and unsolved cases here in New Zealand. And it's interesting stuff, to say the least. It's interesting why these cases go unsolved and things like that. So there's good people out there, you know, these journalists and things, you know, who have actually done the research and have come across their books and things like that, but they don't get a platform.
Right.
You know what I mean, bro? Like, it's just like, man, it's just stuff that'll blow your mind, you know, about how dark it actually is in this country. But in saying that, like I said, there's so many good people. Like I said, you know, with Grace Foundation and all of that, who work with people getting out of prison and things like that. It's hard work, mate. Like, see, like you said, man, because I'm in this position where, like, because the social media is so big now, I've been able to accomplish so much in what took them years, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people that run those foundations are that good people, but they're old, you know what I mean? Like, they haven't seen the value in social media and all of that. Like, to be honest, a lot of my interviews I got through the Grace Foundation, and I'm not sure if you've heard of them, but they do massive, huge work with Dave Latelli, and his son's Brown Butterbean, the boxer.
Yeah.
He does heaps of good work too. But yeah, they do all of this good work, and I actually got a few of my interviews through them, through working with them. But yeah, it's hard work, man, what they do. You know, to be around the guys all the time, you know, and really getting in there and teaching, because I was teaching a class there and everything, and I loved it though, but it's when I look at what I'm doing, I'm like, oh man, I'd rather do what I do, you know. But yeah, no, it's hard case, you know. Man Up, you know, they're another good one. They do a lot of good stuff. Yeah, there's a few around. Yeah, but check it out on the FELON Show. I've interviewed quite a few of them. So
yeah, I've noticed that the media now getting information of podcasts now, you know, of your one, and I see a lot. There's a lot of sports ones that happen. Like I know that they've if you see a story about a sports story on the Herald. They get information from a podcast.
I need to start doing more sports stories. I think that's where I'll hit next. I think I gotta get more sports stars on there. But yeah, no, exactly, bro. Yeah, bro, that many times, man. Like, to be honest, bro, the times that I've done episodes that have made the news now, bro, too many to count now.
That's buzzy,
especially in Australia, because a lot of the bikies I interviewed in that, a lot of whom who I were locked up with, like. Yeah, there was just heaps of media interest in Australia, you know what I mean, about it, and then they started talking about the show. But then, yeah, even here with the sister and things like that, they showed that, and even with the United Nations and stuff as well. So, yeah, but because I've worked with the media and they've done articles on me in the past before, but yeah. They always add their little spin on it, you know what I mean? They always got to add their own little twist on everything, you know what I mean? Which is why when I do interview some people, they're so like mistrusting some of them, because they're like, oh, just had real bad experiences, you know what I mean? Because they twist, you know what I mean? They twist the words around and make it out like you said something you didn't, and so yeah.
Yeah. So you went over to Australia when you were 14? Whereabouts did you grow up in Auckland? In Auckland, or?
Nah, Tokoroa I was from originally.
Right.
Yeah, I was originally from a town called Tokoroa near Hamilton. I lived out there. I lived out in West Auckland actually for a bit there, out in Newland. Yeah, I lived out in West Auckland. And